Well, good morning, everyone, at First Baptist in Collinsville. It's a pleasure for me to, in a sense, be there with you this morning. I have met with your leaders one time, but I had the chance to be down there very often. And so this is a very special occasion for you. And I want to congratulate you and congratulate Zack on this day being a day where you affirm his calling to be at Collinsville as the lead pastor. My name is Brad Little, as I mentioned. I am a lead pastor up at Oak Grove Church in Golden Valley, Minnesota, which is in the Twin Cities. I've been in this role for about 3 years, and as the executive director of Interchurch Network, which used to be CB of America, or specifically our region was CB North Central, we have a long history of the gospel being the centerpiece of our movement and our network. Committed to the scriptures and the inerrancy and the infallibility of that truth. We're committed to disciple making, and this network is a means by which we can go shoulder to shoulder to accomplish the mission of Christ. So I'm thrilled that I could be here, even though it's a video, to just pass on my congratulations. And Zack, I'm looking forward to some time where we can meet, whether on Zoom meeting or I'll get a chance to come down and visit you. But Zack, Bill asked me to speak to you a little bit about this role and relationship of being the lead pastor. And I want to just mention it in this context. I've sat down with several search committees, and there's always this two sides to being a pastor of a local church. The first one is about shepherding and caring for the people. When I've talked to search committees, one of the things they do is that they take a poll, or they investigate with the body of Christ. What kind of pastor do we need here? One that will care for us and shepherd us and keep us biblically anchored. And that's an important part of the process. The other side of that coin is not quite so easy, because I've told search committees, if Jesus himself physically showed up here in the midst of your planning and searching for a pastor, and you asked Jesus, what kind of pastor do we need in order to carry out your purposes and be the body of Christ in the way that you've designed it to be and to carry out your mission? What kind of pastor do we need to have here? And sometimes the answers about the kind of pastor that cares for the church isn't always this kind of pastor that Jesus would say, I need here to carry out the mission of Christ. But everything that Bill tells me is that you are the right person in the right place to carry out both. And I simply want to mention a couple of things. There's, on that same sort of dual focus of shepherding and caring and nurturing for the body, as well as the other side of the coin of how do we become a catalyst to fulfill the mission of Christ. I thought of Ephesians chapter 4, 11 through 16, and then 2 Corinthians 5, 14 and 15. And I just want to remind you of some of the things that are here, and I just want to read them to you. Christ himself gave some to be apostles, and some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints for the work of ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. So it's, we often fight the same old things that we fight in almost every church, and that is you're not there to do all the work of ministry. In fact, the measure of success of your ministry is about raising up other people to be leaders, to raising up people to be disciples of Christ, to raising up people to carry out the function of caring for the body. And you'll see that throughout the rest of the text. It talks about till they all come to a unity of the faith and to the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. And the beauty of that is that one aspect of your challenge as a lead pastor is to build into people's lives so that they grow into the mature body of Christ that God desires. I have a saying that I tell people regarding this, is that your role as a pastor is not to make everyone happy. It's to help everyone to become holy. And when the body of Christ has surrendered their life fully to Christ, there's a sense of unity, there's a sense of caring. It's amazing what happens in the body of Christ when they have a lead pastor who cares about them and models that and just energizes the body of Christ for God's good. The other side of that is 2 Corinthians 5, 14 and 15. And it says, for the love of Christ compels us, so that we who live no longer live for ourselves, but for him who died and rose for us. And then he goes on and talks about them being ambassadors for Christ. And the beauty of this is sort of the other side of the coin, is that your responsibility is to keep reminding the body of Christ that God has called this to be his church, and it's to be on mission, to make an impact in the community, to share the good news of the gospel with lost men and women. And a disciple-making church, as Jesus commanded his disciples in Matthew 28, isn't a disciple-making church unless it's on mission sharing the gospel and then training people to be spiritual parents and to live in the world in such a way that they see Christ in you. And so I want to encourage you. I'm so excited that you're there. I hope that you will flourish, that the hopes and dreams that you have and that the congregation has becomes the fulfillment of his will. And I'll look forward to chatting with you soon. So I hope that you have a great day, are deeply encouraged by that, and may God's richest blessing be upon you and the people there at First Baptist.